Thank you. When I was watching some of you who are knowing the words and singing, I wish that I knew that too, but the glorious feeling of energy and pride when a national anthem is sung. And nations all over are being represented right now. But it is interestingly and poignantly brings us back to South Africa that the very first recipient of the International Children's Peace Prize was a little boy that many of you all know put a face of compassion on a horrible epidemic, His name, Nkosi Johnson. And as I was able to have dinner last night with his strong, determined foster mother, Gail Johnson, who talked to me about his life and talked to me about the realities of his determination. And if I may, when you think about a young life that was cut all too short at 12 years old, as he was addressing the World AIDS Conference, and I don't think that I'm saying this out of turn, Gail told me that in fact he was wearing a diaper because he was so broken by what AIDS had done to him that he was born with, of no fault of his own. And that one of his dying wishes was that the Nkosi Johnson safe haven that was begun by his foster mother would grow and continue. And I am really delighted and honored to say that although his life was cut short, that safe haven continues to serve mothers and children. And the determination of this woman who took Nkosi in and gave him not only a home, but a structure and a family and pets, and amplified his voice, because we all know that children do have a voice, but they often need support to amplify that. And that is why then in 2005, so fittingly, did the Kids Rights Foundation give the first International Children's Peace Prize to Nkosi Johnson. So please, to set us off with the excitement and enthusiasm of our countries and the spirit of South Africa and the spirit that is embodied in Nkosi Johnson, as now amplified through the voice of his foster mother. Put your hands together, please. Gail Johnson. Speak for yourself, young lady.
Oh, after that introduction, am I needed here? Molweni, Dumela, and Sanabonani. Hoi, I'm told, goeiemiddag and good afternoon, and hello everyone. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, common and very lovingly known Arch, honored guests, dignitaries, VIPs, past winners, and finalists, welcome. And thank you for being here on this rather auspicious and uplifting occasion. It's great to see you all here. Thank you. Nkosi became part of my family. I always want to say my life, but I actually had a husband at the time, so our family in '92. He had nowhere to go after the facility he was staying in closed due to lack of funds. So I took him home. I didn't ask the family, I told them, because I've learned if you ask people, they say no. And I don't agree with that. So, of course, he moved in and became a part of our family readily and easily. He was just such a cute child. And he fitted in perfectly. He had duties to do. The animals were anorexic by the time he finished feeding them because he was so slow. But he took his duties on his shoulder, and yeah, he was great. Getting Nkosi into preschool was impossible. No one wanted an infected child, and that was, I suppose, acceptable. So he used to come to work with me and play on the ground or floor and be in my office, and then he and I would charge home, and that was our time together while I cooked supper and he would be chatting to me. Of course, he never experienced discrimination in our family. Sorry, excuse me. There were times when we were asked not to attend a braai or a barbecue because people didn't want their children associating with my infected child. But I never discussed that with him because it wasn't an issue. It was only when I tried to get Nkosi into school that all hell broke loose, because I had put on his application form that he was HIV positive, because I thought if we're going to have any drama, let's deal with it before school starts or afterwards and halfway through. And that's when Nkosi experienced discrimination and the absolute fear around an HIV-positive person or a full-blown person. So and that was part of my irritation with the Department of Education and Department of Health, because they had no educational material ready for schools, for anywhere. So a little kid wanting to go to school was rejected because no one knew how to deal with him. So that was a bit of a challenge, but there was a delay. Of course, he wanted to know why there was a delay. And I said, sweetheart, you know, everyone is actually petrified of you. They are scared. They don't know how to deal with you. And he kept on saying, but why? And he kept on saying, but why? I'm the same as everyone else. And that hurt him. And it was after he got into school amongst much fanfare and media exposure that my little AIDS activist was born, because he was angry. And he couldn't understand why there was such an issue around HIV/AIDS. And he, I won't tell you what he used to say to me, but he and I used to watch television news, and there was issues of denial at that stage, and issues of no medication, and he couldn't understand why pregnant women weren't getting AZT or medication to assist in preventing the virus from being transmitted to their babies. A very, very successful campaign at the moment. Of course, as a result of getting into school, a policy was drawn up. It took 2 years to be published. And as a result, of course, he was being asked to speak at schools pretty regularly. And I admire him, and that's when his courage came to the fore, because he was very often asked some very, very hard-hitting questions, such as, what's it like to know that you're not going to live long? And of course, he used to say, I fight my virus with my head, my heart, my meds, and my tummy, because we taught him about nutrition and all the rest of it. And it was after he had spoken publicly and wanting to get to know more about HIV and why the discrimination that he and I decided to open a facility for HIV-positive moms and their children, because after his mom had died, the first thing he said to me was, my mommy never said goodbye. And I thought just how traumatic for a child to be separated from their mother because of an HIV diagnosis. So I said, okay, cool, let's start it, which I did. I'm not quite sure what I was on at the time. Some of the stuff has been made legal nowadays. I'm looking at that. Yes. Some of it was illegal at the time, but I said yes. So Nkosi officiated the opening of his first home with the then Miss Universe, and he was as chuffed as, he was just so proud. And then he was asked to speak at the World AIDS Conference, which he agreed to. I had no say about that, but he was asked, he said yes. I said to him, look, this is a pretty big one. It's not a school hall, darling. So he said, I want to challenge people. I want to teach people, Mommy. And I said, cool. So the rehearsal afternoon came, and I'm not sure if he thought he was Michael Jackson, But he took the mic and he started singing his speech, and I freaked, and the organizers were standing behind me, and they freaked as well. But anyway, we got through it. We pushed him, and I pushed him badly, and he got through his speech. It was then, unfortunately, he saw the then president walk out during the middle of his speech, and he asked me what had happened. And I said, well, the president actually has a plane to catch, darling. He didn't know that planes wait for presidents, not presidents waiting for planes, but never mind, we won't go there. Of course, he continued to be a little activist, but he got sicker and sicker. And the last thing I ever said to Nkosi on the 29th of December 2000 was, bye-bye, darling, I'll see you in the morning. Behave and sleep well, because he had wanted to spend the night at Nkosi's Haven, where he was spoilt. He was the little king there. Everyone ran around him. He had no animal duties at all. So I was going out for dinner, and I left him there. And he went into a coma that night after a massive seizure and was admitted to hospital, and then came home about a week later because there was nothing more that could be done for him. So he never got to know that he won this magnificent award called the Nkosi. It's as heavy as hell, by the way, so he wouldn't have been able to carry it, that I know. But it's named after him. He never got to know the honor and the actual recognition that he'd been given. So Mark and Kids' Rights, I thank you so much for honoring my son. To this year's finalists, congratulations for being here. And I thank you for taking on the challenge to make the world a better place. The world is messed up by adults, unfortunately. And I congratulate you, and I thank you for giving us hope in working towards making the world a better place. Hold this Nkosi up high. Know you've done your country, your communities proud, and know that you are our future game changers, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Gail. Nkosi may not have had the opportunity to meet all of you and even know that this award is named after him. But each of you and you all know this. And you can tell the story of how a little boy's voice was amplified and how the support of someone else helped break through barriers of discrimination and help change things to make that world better. And how that change and that support is what we need together. No person, no child does it alone. And for Kids' Rights, since that first award to Nkosi, there has been a partner and a supporter in the form of ABN AMRO Bank. And to talk about what that partnership means and how it can amplify the stories of the children who are changing things and winning the Nkosi, and letting millions of people know all around the world, not only the story of Nkosi, the story of the other recipients, the stories of the change makers, the stories of this year's. I give you the CEO of ABN AMRO Bank, Kees van Dijkhuizen. Welcome.
Archbishop Tutu, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here at the 2018 Children's Peace Prize Awards. This prize recognizes the exceptional drive and ambition of children to better our world. This prize also endeavors to shine a light on causes that are central to children's well-being, and in doing so, empower young people. Power. Power comes in all forms, in all shapes, and in all sizes. It is held by people living in all corners of the world, and from all walks of life. As today exemplifies, power has no age restriction. For some people, power is bestowed upon them. For others, it's gained through unwavering belief and determination. Today is about celebrating the young people and children everywhere who look at what is happening in the world and decide that enough is enough. They decide to use their influence, cultivate their power, and channel it to effect meaningful change. There are traditional corridors of power across all our lands, where for centuries decisions, laws, course of history have been defined. But those corridors of power are not impenetrable. They are not and should not be just for a select few. Thankfully, our world is evolving, and step by step, so too is the balance of power. In fact, centers of power not only exist in government buildings and large corporate offices. Power and influence are alive on our streets, in our schools, and across our communities. Today, we are here to honor children and young people everywhere who have courageously decided to take a stance on issues big and small. Many of them mobilized vast numbers of people and galvanized immense support for issues that others were unwilling to take on. All these young people showed leadership where others shied away. The courage of their convictions ensured that they were not deterred by any misconceived notions that the young have no place in the corridors of power, that the young should have no voice when it comes to effecting change in laws and policies. These children rose above all the prejudice, the excuses, and the closed doors. They continued on, resolute in their belief to do good. These children are brave, they are courageous, and most importantly, they are right. A right to take a stand, a right to voice their views, a right to pour all their energy and resilience in too much noble causes. I'm here today as a representative of ABN AMRO, a Dutch bank that so proudly sponsors this prize. We have done so since 2006 in the belief that generations to come should not have to experience the pain, injustices, and inequality that exists in our present day. While preparing for this speech, I read the stories of all the nominees all across the globe. It's a deeply humbling experience to learn about each child's journey, each course so compelling, each intention so pure, each ambition so clear, each child so powerful. Many of these young people have experienced extreme difficulties in their lives, yet these experiences have cultivated a sense of responsibility to help others, to resolutely change the systems that fail them and the people who stand in their way. These children are incredibly inspiring. They are not only moving mountains, but they are creating hope. They are trailblazers, believers, dreamers, and most admirably, they are doers. They are beacons of hope. Inspired and humble is how I, and I know many of you, feel today. We feel these emotions not only because these young people take it upon themselves to stand up for just causes, but also because they often do so against a backdrop of cynicism and derision. They certainly do not do this from established positions of power. The young are often told that they don't understand, that the issues are complex, and that they are naive. But I suggest otherwise. I suggest that we, the older generations, are the ones who are naive. We are the ones who often underestimate the insight and wisdom of the young. The twists and turns of life can make people cynical, can take away our ability to dream. It can make us underestimate how the impossible can be made possible. It can make us afraid. I think young people don't share that fear. I hope they remain courageous and that we, the older generations, in all our wisdom, encourage them to do so. I also hope that my generation will really listen to the youth and embrace their vision for a different future. We need to be open to these purpose-filled young people in the world who decide that change is not only an opportunity, it's a non-negotiable necessity. They decide that no matter how strong resistance is, they will persevere. They will stand up for what is fair, what is just, what is right. Our planet and all its people need human beings just like the nominees. We all need to support them, encourage them, and stand with them, so that they can fuel the flames of humanity. So to all the nominees, I applaud you. I applaud your capacity for compassion, your resilience in the face of adversity, your unwavering commitment to the greater good and to the generations to come. These generations depend on young people like you. In fact, we all do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. van Dijkhuizen. A lot of companies talk about corporate responsibility, corporate social responsibility, but clearly, ABN AMRO is walking the walk. He said he believes in you. I believe in you too. We welcomed 10 of the 13 previous International Children's Peace Prize winners collectively at the beginning of this ceremony. But having traveled all around the world and having the fortune and the humble experiences to work with a variety of people from all over the world who are trying to tell their story and impact people, I have learned that there is no better way to acknowledge someone than by the sound of their own voice. And I have had the privilege of meeting these current winners who will be about to be presented and the previous winners who have come collectively together. So I would like you to wait and see if I can do this, because I'm going to try not to look at my notes, because they each deserve their name to be said as I look at them. Kaylee, Baduwani, Kez, Neha, Omprakash, Kekeshan, Taduani, Francia, Mohammed. And please, representing all of them to speak on behalf of the previous International Children's Peace Prize winners, please show that you believe in Abraham M. Keita. Ladies and gentlemen.
Every 5 minutes, a child is killed by violence. That's 288 deaths each day. Conflict, abuse, and exploitation affect all children across the globe every single day. Globally, 1 billion children experience physical, emotional, sexual violence each year. But I'm not here to give you statistics. I didn't travel all the way to this great country of Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, and of course, the ever-inspiring chief patron of case rights, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, to just give you numbers. I am here. No, we, the Children's Peace Prize winners, and all the young people who are present in this hall today are here to say enough. We have had enough. We cannot continue to bear the burdens as a result of the inactions of adults and their failure to reason. I am sick of this word, but I am not tired of it. I am sick of reading in the news the untold mayhem against children in Syria, in Yemen, and in Myanmar. I am sick that for every time I muster the courage to watch television, I see children, young people, being killed by a gunman somewhere in America. I am sick that Africa, my motherland, knows no peace in Somalia, no rest in South Sudan, and no ease in the Central African Republic. In my country, Liberia, I am sick that politicians put their interest far above the interest and dignity and well-being of young people. And I am sick in all my bones to realize just one thing. Adults are failing us. Kindness and empathy are scarce. Hope and fear are surplus. There is shortage of compassion. Violence has become the new normal. Communities and schools are no longer safe. Children's rights are violated daily. However, in spite of all these, there is good news. From the shores of Cape Town to the high grounds of Cairo, children and young people are changing the conversations. Whether it is in Europe or in Asia or indeed any part of this world, we are changing this world. By our actions, we will stand up for change. By our voice, we will speak out. Humanity prospers when there is much hope and love and empathy. I become hopeful when I see that young people no longer accept that their rights are violated. Instead, they take action. Look at the finalists of the Children's Peace Prize. Mourning, becoming an activist against early child marriage. Leilua, fighting against child abuse. And March for Our Lives, a movement campaigning for safe schools and communities. They all prove that young people are moving the world. I joined the March for Our Lives on the 24th of March this year in Washington, D.C., to demand an end to gun violence. I was moved by their actions. And I could not be a watcher to this historic moment. None of us should. So I joined, even though I am not an American or related to one. I joined the march to say never again. Being part of this and seeing how these young people could turn grief into revolution is truly inspiring. I dream of a better world. We, the Children's Peace Prize winners and case rights youngsters, dream of a world in which there will be no more violence and abuse against children. This is our mission. Our voices need to be heard. Our actions need to be supported. And our stories need to be shared. And each one of you can contribute to that. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now I have the honor to call onto this podium my fellow Children's Peace Prize winners. For the past 3 years, I have been a part of this unique group of change makers. And there is one thing that we all share, and that is something that all of you here share, and that thing is conviction. We act based on what we believe in, and I can assure you that we won't stop until this war is changed.
Hi. So, as previous winners, we all wanted to add our voices to this celebration and say a few words to you all and to Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I'm so happy to welcome you all here to the 2018 International Children's Peace Prize on behalf of all my fellow winners. I'm also excited to welcome the Kids' Rights family to my country and to show what makes South Africa so special. We are all very privileged to have you here, and that Archbishop Desmond Tutu is with us again, our patron that has supported us from the beginning of the Children's Peace Prize. Thank you. This prize represents more than just the work done by the winners. It's about recognizing the power of a single young person to make a positive change in our communities. The winners who are up here with me have had a massive impact around the world on different issues, and we have learned from each other and created change through collaborating causes. We are a small group, but we are powerful. The power of young people is indelible, and we must, as young people, remember that our life experiences are no less valuable, no less valid than those who've lived more years than us. This is a key message of the KB campaign. And it's amazing to see more than 100 of our pay-it-forward ambassadors and our dancers in the audience today. I love that I'm not the only wheelchair user in the room. Activism is an incredible journey of change-making and self-discovery, and I encourage you all to come on this journey with us. I now hand over to Barani.
I win the International Children's Peace Prize in 2009 for fighting for children's rights in Tanzania. And now I'm in South Africa for study. Thank you so much, South African government, for giving me 2 years of a study permit. After being in South Africa for almost 1 year, I found that there is a big of a difference of South African supporting refugees. So what makes me happy is that there is no refugee camp in South Africa. That shows all people deserve the right to live together and share everything the same. I believe that other countries should follow this amazing way of supporting refugees in their countries. I believe that everyone can make a change, whether refugee, whether hosting them, whether rich or poor, we can all move this world. Thank you so much.
As I look back when I won the prize in 2012, it is indeed one of the most unforgettable experience of mine. And it became more memorable because the person who handed the award to me is the person who I greatly admire. It is no other than our own patron, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We, as the Kids Rise youngsters, we want to prove to the world that even if we are young and come from an unfortunate background, it did not stop us to make our difference in our own country. We are here standing before you today, not just because we are the winners of the Children's Peace Prize, but because, and most importantly, we want to represent every children who are being exploited and abused in every corner of the world. And now, we are inviting you to join this movement. Together, we can all be change makers, and together, we can change the world. Thank you.
Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. Archbishop Desmond Tutu's words and his lifelong work have touched millions of hearts. This quote by you, Archbishop, epitomizes the shared goals of the past and the present Children's Peace Prize winners. Each of us strives to make our mark on our local and our global communities and inspire others to do the same. We hope and we know that everyone in this room and everyone watching will live by Archbishop Desmond Tutu's words and create a better world for the next generation. And we look forward to the new winner joining us, fighting for human rights, and making our mark on the world together. Thank you.
Thank you for Kid Size and Mr. Desmond Tutu, because after I won International Children's Peace Prize, people get more attention my fighting and child slavery, and it is our responsibility to create this beautiful world, and you guys and all young people join us to we make beautiful and creating globe. Thank you.
When I began my journey 10 years ago at the tender age of 8, mine was a lonely voice trying to draw attention to the grave threats that faced our environment purely as a result of human actions. Then I founded Green Hope Foundation in 2012 after speaking at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to provide children with the platform to learn about the challenges that faced our environment. My efforts took a quantum leap when, in 2016, I won the International Children's Peace Prize. And this award shone a spotlight for the whole world to see on my efforts, which were essentially to tell everyone that every child has an undeniable right to a clean and healthy environment. Winning this award strengthened my voice and increased my outreach manyfold. And now, with more than 2 billion young people on the planet, my generation is the last one that has the opportunity of mitigating climate change and reversing the environmental degradation before it is too late. And we, as kids' rights youngsters, will use our change-making potential to tell adults to not take the environment for granted, but to preserve it for generations to come. Thank you.
My name is Tandiwe. Mr. Tutu, you have been a patron, a friend to kids' rights winners, and there's never been a dull moment being around you. We can joke with you, your words are warm, and being around you, I personally learned that age is just a number. At your age, you speak out for the voiceless to be heard. What a great man you are and will always be. You are an icon, so inspiring. Thank you for being part of this wonderful journey of enriching children's lives. Thank you.
I'm Francia. So, dear Desmond Tutu, it is a privilege to meet you. You are an honorable man, a man with a good heart, and above all, a good role model. I hope more people will be like you, so the world will change for good. I hope that the children of the world know their right and can follow your steps to be men, women, and live good examples as you have done so far. Desmond Tutu, you're the best. Thank you.
In 2011, I had to flee my country, my home country, Syria, for reasons we all know. And when I fled to Lebanon, I believed that we are unable to change the world. It's impossible to change our world. We will always live in a world like the world I came from, which is Syria. But in 2017, I was awarded the International Children's Peace Prize, and with it came a small light for me that enabled me to believe that we might have the chance to change this world. And this year, I came to South Africa. The first thing I got is a flu, as you can hear. The second thing, and the best thing about the International Children's Peace Prize and Kids Rights Foundation and me coming to South Africa is meeting the youngsters. Because I met people that made me feel proud of who I am. I've never felt proud before, but they made me feel proud of who I am, of where I am at the moment. Because I know that those people fight for the same goal I fight for, which is making this world normal again. And for Archbishop Desmond Tutu, I would like to thank you for giving us the platform and the voice that will enable us to change the world into a world we also believe in. Thank you.
And thank you, one and all. Please give a warm round of applause to the previous winners of the International Children's Peace Prize. If you're not inspired, you're not alive.
Okay.
While they are demonstrating their collaboration and helping Kaylee off, thank you, thank you. You think about the different motivators and every one of them to a person thanking Kids' Rights for amplifying their already proven commitments. From starting schools to being protesters like Keita was when he was only 9 and 13 in Liberia, to advocating against child slavery in India, to taking on the entire refugee camp for Syrians in Jordan and starting schools, to starting radio stations. And the level of commitment does demonstrate, as they said, that age is just a number. And I don't know about you, but where are you going to be when you're in your late 80s? I hope it's inspiring young people and just as committed and just as determined as when you were younger. What about these children and about all of you here? What is it that drives you? It's not just because you're sick of things. You also have hope, as Keita said so well. But I think really, as we invite the gospel choir, the Soweto gospel choir that has worked hand in hand and is often the vocal accompaniment with Archbishop Desmond Tutu, I think you will find that the common bonds they have, and those of you who are committed to change in your world too, is strength. Resilience was talked about, determination